Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here to preview the West Region of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament, where two SEC teams will be in that side of the bracket. Blake, it was an interesting season for both Alabama and Arkansas. Those are our two SEC teams in the field of 68, two of the six, that is. Let's start with the Razorbacks. Hottest team in the country, pretty much the last 2 months of the season or close to it. Petered out a little bit in the SEC tournament. Arkansas, in my opinion, and I think you share this with me too, got a tough draw with Vermont on Thursday, and then either New Mexico State and UConn on Saturday should Arkansas win. Arkansas is a 64% favorite on KenPom, but Vermont is a team that likes to slow you down. Arkansas is a team that likes to play faster. Vermont third in the country in effective field goal percentage, shoots twos really well. John Becker is a tremendous coach, one of the better ones at mid-majors. I think Jalen Williams is a big key in this one for Arkansas.
Yes, I agree. And by the way, just so everyone knows, we're going to make our actual picks on these games in later videos. This is more of an overview of kind of what we expect from this bracket. But when you look at this for Arkansas, like you said, the draw itself to me is, I've seen people comparing it to the Colgate game last year and those kind of things. I just think, like you said, John Becker's someone that if you followed his career, he's so good. And they're just a very, what you would expect from a 28-5 team in the America East. Just a very efficient team offensively. When you watch them play, it's just, it's very, very fun to watch them be as efficient as they are on offense. A team that I always say in tournament time, team that doesn't beat themselves in terms of they don't really turn it over. Very effective in terms of their field goal percentages. Everybody, you can look at the data, you can look at the stats and see it for yourself. But also, that they haven't played a lot of teams like Arkansas this year in terms of just I think you look at the size and just the speed that we always talk about with this Arkansas team. And look, it's not a huge Arkansas team, but like you said, Jalen Williams is someone that I think that'll play a big role in this game. And again, we'll break it down a little bit further too as we get into the predictions videos. I think that'll be tomorrow on Tuesday. Here's what I think we did this last night. I don't remember if we did or not. If you're looking at the 13 seeds, right, and you're Arkansas as the 4, you could have gotten
the
Vermont.
One you don't want.
Well, I think there's
a lot you don't want, but yeah.
There's another one I think you really don't want. So they got out of that spot. Vermont, Chattanooga, Akron, South Dakota State. I think South Dakota State's the one you absolutely do not want. So I think of the group, this is probably I'd say the second one of the group. And everyone will have different opinions on that. Chattanooga's a good team. Akron's a good team. But I think it's just Vermont. They are just one of those teams that I just like John Becker too. Like you said, he's really good at what he does. And this team's only lost one game since December the 7th. So should be a good game if Vermont is hitting shots and they can take care of the ball against Arkansas, which all year long they've taken care of the ball, but can they take care of it? That's what we look at in this game. Beyond that, like you said, I think you look at UConn. I've said it before, I'm pretty impressed by UConn. I think that's a team that's, 23-9, and maybe that record's a little deceiving, but I look at that team and that's still a very good basketball team. So, very
Beat
good
Auburn.
In terms of this. Yeah, look, the size and everything, right? We talk about with them, and I think they're the number one offensive rebounding team in the country.
Yes.
I know percentage-wise that is. I'm not sure in terms of like offensive rebounds per game, but percentage-wise, I know that's the case. So, yeah, anywhere you like, we're going to talk about this with all the SEC teams. We break down everything, but I can't say I love it for Arkansas by any means. I don't think it's the worst possible draw, but I'm probably not jumping over the moon for it if I'm Arkansas. But I feel like we kind of said that last year too, and we saw what happened there. So,
yeah, point of clarity, there are, of the 13 seeds, there are 3 really good ones and then a big drop-off to Akron. So you really don't
That's
want
the
to
one you
play any
probably
of
wanted.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Arkansas didn't get that. Before we talk Alabama and then the rest of the bracket, a word from our sponsor quickly. March is here, and the madness has officially begun. It is time for you to shoot your shot and score on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Predict winners in each round of the MyBookie bracket contest for a chance to win Bitcoin, a Doodle NFT currently valued at over $50,000 and over $100,000 more in cash prizes. Whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting the national championship winner, or simply looking for player and game props, MyBookie has you covered. Sign up today with MyBookie. Use the promo code Southeastern to make your first deposit, earning a free entry into the My Bracket contest. Selections for the bracket officially begin March 13th and close March 17th at 12 p.m. So make sure you get your deposit in now with Southeastern as your promo code to secure that free entry. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Hey, everyone wants a piece of the 14 now, don't they, Chris?
They do.
MyBookie getting in on the action.
They are
No,
coming to us now.
Thanks to everyone. You guys have made that possible. But real quickly before we get to Alabama, if we go beyond for Arkansas, because they are a 4 seed, and by seeding, you would expect a Sweet 16 matchup, right? If you go just by the seeding, Gonzaga, Arkansas. I think the top part of that bracket, Gonzaga, Boise State, Memphis. Memphis is just interesting to me. I know they turn the ball over a lot, but let's be honest, that team is talent-wise, they're not a 9 seed. But they played like it's but they're playing their best basketball of the season. So I think we can't forget about that with Memphis.
And healthier a little bit, I think.
Yeah,
Duran has been banged up and now is back.
They've lost 2 games since January 20th. I mean, we got to remember that. This is a team that I know was not very good early in the season, but if you're Gonzaga, I don't think you love that at all.
If they get past Boise.
Right, but let's assume, let's say that happens. Gonzaga's not a team that turns people over. So I know that turnover thing, if it is Memphis, I don't think that really matters a whole lot. So I think that's an intriguing matchup in the second round. But, if you're Arkansas, how do you match up with Gonzaga? How do you match up with a team like that? I mean, certainly, I've said this before, and I don't know, I can't imagine there's a lot of Gonzaga fans that will make their way into this video, but I think Gonzaga is really, really good. I think they're a great team. But I also have seen some things with this team that perhaps, certainly we haven't seen with other teams, right, in the past. We can't even compare it to the one last year. I don't think you can make that comparison. But I think it's interesting for them. And, perhaps an Arkansas matchup, look, there's a ton of size. Gonzaga, just like we talk about. I mean, that's a team with a ton of size. They do a little bit of everything in terms of offense, defense. I mean, they're really good on both sides of the court. But so I'd love to see that matchup. I just think, like I said, it's an interesting top part of that bracket, and we'll transition to Alabama from there. But as I said, we'll go more into these games when we make our picks for tomorrow.
Well, let me ask you a couple more things about that 8-team segment of the bracket. I think you got a potential dandy of a game with UConn and New Mexico State. Chris Jans has been so close. I mean, they just are good every year. You reminded me before the show that without a late game glitch, I don't remember exactly what it was, in 2019, New Mexico State pulls the upset and knocks Auburn out before it has the chance to get to the Final Four. I mean, I think this is a very interesting top half of the bracket. I don't think that Gonzaga is a slam dunk to get out of it.
That's what I said. I mean, I'm not knocking Gonzaga. I just think that it's like one of those things where, I mean, to me, Memphis is the team that I look at because the potential's there. I just said it. I mean, that's one to certainly look at. I don't know if they can be as, match Gonzaga toe-to-toe for 40 minutes, but they at least make it interesting, I think. So,
well, let's be honest. Memphis could knock them off. Arkansas could knock them off. UConn could knock them off at different points.
Right. Depending. Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. Again, whether it happens, I don't know. And, if you ask me right now, I still probably, if I'm picking a bracket, I'm probably still looking at Gonzaga and having a hard time throwing them out of there. But yeah, I think that to me, the top part of the bracket, there's a lot more volatility than the bottom part. The bottom part to me is crystal clear, and we'll get to it in a second. But I think the top part is there's a lot to be determined. So yeah, even UConn, New Mexico State, like you said, I think that's an interesting one. Chris Jan's a good coach, so yeah.
All right, let's get to the bottom part. Alabama is the SEC team in that part. Alabama plays at, what was it? Oh, good grief. Alabama's going to take on the winner of Rutgers and Notre Dame, which will be played on Wednesday, so Alabama plays Friday. Had that in front of me, couldn't find it. Anyway.
That's fine.
Show prep for nothing. Yeah, I mean, this is, okay, let's start with who Alabama gets, okay? Because Notre Dame is a team that can shoot the eyes out of the basket, doesn't defend very well. Rutgers struggled on offense, defends pretty well, beat 8 NCAA tournament teams. Rutgers was just like, Rutgers was the other Alabama. Can beat anybody, anywhere, anytime, lose to anybody, anywhere, anytime. That's the one I'm kind of hoping for. But shooting's a big thing in these, and I'm a little afraid of Notre Dame for Rutgers, but then again, Rutgers is the better defensive team. Any guts on who Alabama gets? Gut feelings?
I would go Rutgers, but they're a
slight favorite, I think.
Yeah, this is a tough call to me because I'm just like, I don't know. This is a tough game to pick. It's like you said. I mean, you look at how these two teams play, and Notre Dame, everything's going to come from the three. And isn't it the same conversation people have had about Alabama? Since Nate Oates has been there. Well, they get so much stuff from three, and we know. I mean, it's just depends on if you're making shots, right? Like that's what it comes down to. So I just think Rutgers has been tested a lot more. So I would probably lean towards Rutgers. As I've said, my Notre Dame knock is nothing to do with Mike Brey. I think Mike Brey is a great coach, but I don't know if Notre Dame was one of those teams. Comparing resumes to some of the others, I think Rutgers is more battle tested. So I would probably lean Rutgers in that scenario.
You know what though? This 8-team quadrant, and this just now occurred to me. I mean, you got strong coaches all over this field, but the coaches in this part, you got Coach K, you got Tom Izzo, you got Nate Oates.
It's a good group. Yeah.
You got Mark Adams, you got Bob McKillop. You got a lot of guys that have coached a ton of basketball.
Yeah. Having to maneuver around in my chair here, as everyone can see. It's just like, Chris, we have been sitting in our chairs, our computer chairs, so much the past, I mean, we doing this for months, but like really the past 3 or 4 days now, I guess. Think about how long I'm just like, man, I'm getting antsy. I'm like,
I need a new chair. This is.
Oh, Chris, we got to get you a better chair. My goodness.
X chair, if you're listening.
I don't know how you're not sponsor. I got one of these gaming chairs or whatever. I found it at Staples, and I know people are really tuned in for this conversation, but think about our structure here.
I'm leaning forward in mine all the time. So
I don't even remember what we were just talking about. I tried to get
coaches. I mentioned they were great coaches, and somehow they went to chairs.
There's a bunch of coaches in this tournament. Yeah. No, you're right. It's a good group for sure. And I mean, all right, let me just go ahead and tell you right now. I told you, I said I thought the bottom part of this bracket's very, very clear. Said it on Twitter as soon as the bracket came out. Probably said it in our reaction video. Hate the second round matchup for Alabama against Texas Tech. Yeah. If that's the matchup, just hate it. I mean, I can't imagine you're thrilled with that
because
matchup.
They can do everything that gives Alabama fits.
They will turn you over. They will defend everywhere. Look, if we have to go by what we've seen, I just feel like that's a bad draw for Alabama in the second round. Even as good as even if the good Alabama shows up, that's a tough draw to me. So I just think that's a difficult one.
Look, we're not here to tide bash, but you kind of watched the last few weeks of the season wanting to see problems resolve themselves. And by the way, Alabama's not the only team in the league we're going to pick apart a little bit with this line of thinking. But you saw it in the SEC tournament. You saw it at the end of the regular season. The turnovers they kept coming. Sometimes they just were the most head-scratching of varieties. You would think with Shackelford and Quinterly, the guard play would have been more consistent. but it wasn't, especially Quinterly. Now, Alabama's got a lot of depth and a lot of weapons, but the threes never fell at the rate Nate Oates needed them to. The ball handling, the defense never came around, and that's three really big things going into the tournament. Now, again, Alabama defied all that many times, beat Baylor, beat Gonzaga, beat a bunch of teams that were really good, and so you never know. But it feels like that's more in the distant past than the recent.
Yeah, that's why I just don't love it. Because I think it's one we've been waiting and saying if Alabama plays well for so long now. And I just think it's gotten past that at this point. Again, it's all about matchups. We have no bias here. Contrary to some belief, we have none. We're just telling you what we see, and I just don't see that as a good matchup at all. If you've watched Alabama play, I don't know how anyone could disagree in terms of just the turnovers and knowing how Texas Tech plays defense. So, I mean, look, too, like we talk about if they're hitting threes. Chris, they're 30.8% from three this year. They're 305th in the country, right?
And that's going to be, if there's an overarching concern with this league and this tournament, it's that it did not hit threes at a level that some other leagues did. Now, defense may have had something to do with that. I think the SEC was probably the top defensive league in the country, but a lot of that defensive prowess also came underneath in the paint.
Finished 29th nationally in conferences. We brought up that stat during the season.
Yeah.
32.1% as a whole of the conference. It's 29th out of 32 conferences. So
yeah, I mean, and maybe you can make the argument that having studs down low frees your defenders to be a little more aggressive on the perimeter.
Number one in offensive rebounding percentage, so that helps, right?
Yeah, but you would think that would get a little bit balanced out by out-of-league play. And if you look at the stat sheet, it just didn't. So
yeah. Well, I don't like the matchup for Alabama. But again, we have said that before. The consistency's not there. So I think if you're banking on Alabama, the good Alabama to show up, I just feel like that was a while back now. But you never know. I think this is Texas Tech's bracket to lose at the bottom. I just think Texas Tech's a better team than Duke, and I know people won't agree with that, and we'll see if that's the matchup we get. I think they're the kind of team that would give Duke fits. So
Duke was so inconsistent at the end of the season. Lost to Virginia Tech in the tournament championship by 15. Lost in Coach K's last game in Cameron to a North Carolina team that's just okay. I mean, Duke's got, 5 first-round picks? Ben Caro's about as good as talented a player as there is in the country. Going to be a top 3 NBA pick, last I checked. But it just, I mean, they were, 44th in adjusted defensive efficiency? Just maybe good, but not great. I don't know. It just didn't really come together. There's a little bit of a disconnect between the talent and the coaching and what we've seen of late.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think this bracket could really be a little wide open beyond perhaps thinking Gonzaga is going to make the run here. But yeah, again, if you're Alabama, if we're looking at it from the SEC slant, I don't love the makeup here for them, to be honest with you. So
one other game we didn't hit is Davidson, Michigan State. Davidson really good at shooting twos. Michigan State better at defending. Davidson's not a good defensive team. I mean, they're just games that you look at on your bracket and go, doesn't really matter because I don't see the team that wins that one going any further than that line.
If there's
and that's got that written all over it.
If there's someone that's going to end Coach K's career, to me,
Tom
it would
Izzo?
seem fitting if it's Izzo. But
yeah,
I think the better scenario is Mark Adams. So
yeah, and that would be one game further down. I'm with you. I don't think. Well, Davidson, Bob McKillop's a great coach. Everybody knows it. But I think all his wins in the NCAA tournament, he's coached, 30 years? Maybe more at Davidson? And they all came with Steph Curry in that one magical year. I don't think he's ever won a tournament game besides that.
I mean, the A-10, let's be honest, too. A-10 wasn't great this year.
Way down.
So, yeah, I don't really know what to make of. Yeah, so not a great league this year. So
All right. Wager on sports and win NFTs. Sounds too good to be true, but you can do it without risking any money. Stakes is the wagering app that's casual, social, made for all sports fans. Whether it's by yourself or with friends, experience the thrill of sports betting without needing to worry about losing your hard-earned money. Sign up, use our code Southeastern14. Join the thousands of other sports fans playing with Stakes. That's STAKES in the app store. Stake.
What do you think? 24 hours later, what do you think Steak's up to right now? That guy was out partying all night, I have no doubt.
No doubt.
Celebrating the national not the national championship. He may be celebrating a national championship soon.
Be.
We'll see when we get to the South bracket. Steak. Good for Steak. Good for Steak. Sam. Sam's in our comments. Everyone else. Good for them. That was, spoiler alert, I'm pretty high on Tennessee's bracket. So yeah. we'll get to the South soon.
That makes two of us, I think.
There you go.
Yeah, the committee loved it some ACC. I just had to get that in one more time.
By the way, can we point this out too? I think it may have been Sam that brought this up. I'm not sure if it was. I mean, not only did Tennessee get the 3. Well, we'll get to it. All right, we'll save it. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll save that for the South.
And if you didn't see that, our live reaction, go watch that in the live reaction video. Plenty of.
Our timing for doing a live video has never been better. The one we've done live, we could not have timed it better. So go back and
check
watch
that
it
out
if you haven't.
Yep.
Parting thoughts.
No, we'll get to which one's next, Chris? Which bracket are we doing next?
I believe we're going to do the East next.
Yeah, we're doing it by tip-off. We're going to do the Thursdays. Well, I guess it's kind of scattered, but
it is.
Yeah. So we're going to do the East next. That's our plan, and then we'll go from there. We'll hit them all. South, Midwest after that, and then again, those will be coming in the next today and tomorrow. So we're talking Monday here, and then we will begin making our individual game predictions for like we've done all season. So just so you guys have an idea of what we're going to do. So
subscribe if you haven't. Follow us on Twitter at the accounts below. Follow our account at 14 Southeastern on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Again, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you more later in the week with plenty more of these to come.